At the end of the day, everything always comes out in the wash. For those of you involved in federal oppression and overreach, that information will see the light of day, and there are plenty of people out there who will expose it. For example, here, federal employees brag of stealing land. In this video that I'm going to leave a link for, you can see federal employees bragging about how they used government money to swindle two World War II veterans out of their $40 million estate for just a couple $1,000,000. And then they laugh and joke about it and have a little celebration. Well, if you're interested about this story, I'm going to leave a link, and they tell you the players involved and give some more background information into the story. A few weeks ago, I did a story talking about Greg Singh, who is currently the special agent in charge operating out of the Portland, Oregon field office, and he is leading the investigation for the Oregon standoff case as well as the death of Lavoy Finicum. I detailed how back in 2011, Mr. Singh was the assistant special agent in charge of the Utah field office that was rocked by a scandal that involved national security breaches, fraud, corruption, and cover-ups. I think it's important for everyone to be aware that back in 2009, Greg Singh was the special agent in charge of a different massive investigation taking place in the Four Corners region of the U.S., Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. In this investigation that lasted over 2 years, the BLM and FBI were investigating an alleged Indian artifacts trafficking ring. A key player in this investigation was Ted Gardner, the man you see here. He was pretty much at the lowest point of his life after losing his business and his wife. He was at rock bottom, and he was approached at that point in time by these agencies. They turned him into an informant and paid him, over the course of this 2-year-long investigation, close to $250,000. Now, these agencies gave him envelopes full of cash and sent him out to try to buy and sell ancient Indian artifacts from people around the area. This guy claimed he had an extensive inside scoop on this alleged black market or trafficking ring of Indian artifacts. And he did this all while wearing a t-shirt button camera.
He wants 10 for it.
Who just had $10,000?
You will never ever see another rattle mug like this again in your life. And I don't say that very often about stuff. Hey, Dan. Jeannie needs time to think about it. I think I got her.
The man that the FBI and BLM informant was talking to on the phone is this man here, Dan Love. Some of you may remember him from the 2014 Bundy Ranch standoff, where he was the head of the BLM for Utah and Nevada. Now, this investigation eventually led to the raids being conducted on 24 different people, and they were served 12 different indictments. It also led to the death of 3 people. Now, not the raids themselves, no one died during that time, but subsequently afterwards, 2 defendants committed suicide, and then the informant, feeling guilty, then committed suicide. There was a lot of questions as to the heavy-handedness and the tactics that were used by the federal government during these raids. Even the sheriffs in Utah spoke out against Dan Love, the BLM agent I just showed you a photo of. The sheriffs referred to him as an arrogant and dishonest bully that has a little regard for local authority and dodges accountability, derailing a collaborative approach to police work on the state and federal lands.
Now, I'm extremely concerned by the manner in which these warrants were executed. They came in full combat gear, SWAT team gear, like they were going after, the worst drug dealers in the world. And in the process, now I don't believe anybody should be taking Indian artifacts. I'll establish that right off. But in the process, one of the leading figures in the whole county down there, who was a leading doctor, had delivered almost everybody who lived in the county as a doctor, committed suicide. He was, by all intents and purposes, an upstanding member of the community, a decent, honorable man, critical to the community from a health and welfare standpoint. And the way they came in there, I have no problem with going after people who violate the law. But they came in there like they were the worst common criminals on earth, and in the process, this man became overwhelming to him, I suppose, and a really strong individual, good person goes out and commits suicide.
The doctor they're referring to is this man here, Dr. James Redd.
My dad was charged with possession of that little teeny shell.
Hey, what do you think?
What do you think of that little dude there?
That is nice.
He knows just the thing to say.
You're talking about the little white panda, right?
They said that it was worth over $1,000, making it a felony. It's worth $75 from the best, well-known, reliable expert in the field.
You know, and this bothered me. The media reports state that over 100 federal agents were used in this operation. And that extreme show of force and presence has been perceived by the community out there and the civic leaders in San Juan County as not only unnecessary but brutal.
The arrests that were done were felony arrests, and as best as I can tell, they were done in accordance with the FBI and Bureau of Land Management standard operating procedures.
It's completely destroyed good feelings towards the government and that whole community.
Now, before you get carried away cheering on Senator Hatch as he grills former Attorney General Eric Holder, you have to realize and recognize that this senator let them off the hook. And that whole hearing there was simply a dog and pony show, something to keep the people back in Utah quiet.
Now, again, I don't justify stealing or taking Indian artifacts if that's what happened here. But I guess, nor do I want to put you through a lot of pain here. I hope you'll do something about that type of activity in the future. I mean, you can bring all the force you want against drug dealers and people who clearly are violent felons where our people might be in danger. But in this case, there wasn't the slightest possibility anybody could have been endangered.
Now, they weren't the only ones that got off the hook easy. The Red family had filed a lawsuit against not only the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the BLM. They filed a suit specifically for the agents involved, such as Daniel Love, the special agent in charge of the BLM in this Operation Cerberus action, as well as the 21 other unknown agents. Of course, the federal judge sided with the federal agent, Dan Love, working for the BLM, stating that the Red estate had failed to meet its high burden to clearly demonstrate that Agent Love violated Dr. Red's Fourth Amendment right to be free from use of excessive force. FBI Special Agent Greg Bretzing testified for his BLM buddy in the wrongful death suit, claiming that BLM agent Dan Love's actions were justified and due to alleged threats that the federal agents received attempting to serve warrants on Dr. Red and his wife, who were in their 60s at that point in time. And they had used, from what I can tell, what appears to be intimidation, heavy intimidation tactics and psychological warfare during these raids, as well as excessive use of force. So Special Agent in Charge Greg Bretzing's testimony got Dan Love off of the hook. Shortly after that, Operation Cerberus Action, the ancient Indian artifact sting, was declared a success, and Dan Love was awarded the Special Agent of the Year award and a promotion to go along with it. He was promoted to Special Agent in Charge for the BLM of Utah and Nevada. Of course, after that, the infamous 2014 Bundy Ranch standoff took place, and Dan Love was the Special Agent in Charge during that operation. Shortly after that, of course, the infamous 2016 Oregon standoff took place, and Special Agent in Charge Greg Bretzing was overseeing that operation there. So this is a very important connection that I felt needed to be made right here, right now. We have FBI Special Agent Greg Bretzing working in 2009 with BLM Special Agent Dan Love for the Operation Cerberus Action, the ancient Indian artifacts sting operation that resulted in 3 people losing their lives and a community in Utah being torn apart. 2011, Greg Bretzing was the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Utah Field Office for the FBI that was targeted for an investigation due to national security breach, fraud, corruption, and cover-ups. 2016, Special Agent in Charge Greg Bretzing is overseeing the Oregon standoff case as well as the death of Lavoy Finicum. So at this point, we're beginning to see a pattern here on both sides of the badge. The agents and the Bundys, these same faces, these same players involved. And there has been, at this point, at least 4 bodies that has resulted from these operations. 4 people have lost their lives. And certain agents out here have a history that seems to follow them around. Corruption, fraud, strong-arm tactics, death, cover-ups. You guys be your own decision makers out there. I just want to present the information to you as it's coming across to me.